All right, we're looking at R5B. Ran out of time on the last video. I wanted to do a couple more examples just to really show you the steps of solving a rational equation. So let's take a look at this example here. All right, we have an example. Oh, it is. Let's go 5x minus 20 over x squared minus 9x plus 18 plus 1 over x minus 6 is x minus 4 over x squared minus 9x plus 18. All right, so this is the example, right? So let's go off and try and figure out what our LCD is going to be. Well, I need to factor all these things first before I can start to think about the LCD. And I'm just going to factor the denominators. I'm not going to worry so much about the numerators just yet. I'm going to look at the denominators. Well, here I have x squared minus 9x plus 18, x squared minus 9x plus 18. So I know these are the same. So my hope is that x minus 6 is one of these factors. So I go x squared minus 9x plus 18, and let's factor this guy. Well, I know if my first has to be an x and an x. Factors of 18, we have 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6, 4, no, 5, no. Okay, good. Now we'll start with the ones that are closest together, 3 and 6. I get a 3 in there and a 6 in there. Second sign here is a positive. Tells me these two signs have to be the same, and they're both going to be negative. So x minus 3, x minus 6. Now I could check. I got a negative 3x. Negative 6x, add down, negative 3, negative 6 is negative 9x. Okay. So I know these are my factors. Well, x minus 6, hey, that's already a factor here, right? And if I would multiply this denominator by x minus 3, then all three would have the same denominator. So I now know that my LCD, just to clean all this mess up here, my LCD is x minus 3 times x minus 6. All right, so let's multiply. We multiply the left side by x minus 3 times x minus 6, and I multiply the right side by x minus 3 times x minus 6. Here's what's really cool. Really cool. I got to distribute on the left side. X minus 3 times x minus 6 is x squared minus 9x plus 18. Those both cancel out. And on my next line, I have 5x minus 20. And if I distribute, because I have to distribute to the next one, the x minus 6 cancels with the x minus 6. So there's that. This is the same plus sign here. X minus 3 would go in. Right? X minus 3 times 1 is just x minus 3. And that equals, and on the right side, I have x minus 3 times x minus 6 is going to cancel with the denominator over here, and I'm left with x minus 4. Right? This is going to cancel with this guy. Remember the step that we're skipping. I'm skipping this huge step right here because I want to make these things a little bit easier to see. So now, 5x plus x, I'm going to combine my like terms on the left side, and then I'm going to get all the variables on one side and the numbers on the other, right? So 5x plus x is 6x. Negative 20 and negative 3 is a negative 23. And that equals x minus 4. And if I get my variables on the left side, then that's gone, and I have 5x minus 23 equals negative 4. And I want to get my numbers onto the right side, so plus 23. So 5x now equals, let's see, negative 4 to 23 is the same thing as 23 minus 4. So 22, 21, 20, 19. So 19 divided by 5, and x equals 19 over 5. And that's as far as I can take that problem. All right, let's try another one. Let's try one more and see if we can kind of get the hang here. All right, last example. Let's go with, we have 1 over 5x squared plus 2x minus 6 over 5x plus 2, and that equals 6 over 5x squared plus 2x. All right, so let's go find our LCD. If I were to factor 5x squared plus 2x, well, 5 and 2 have nothing in common, but they both have an x. So if I factor that out, I would have x times 5x plus 2, right? And now I'm going to go reassess all of these. Well, 5x squared plus 2x, well, that was the same as this one. Now I have a 5x plus 2. What is he missing? 5x plus 2 is missing the x, right? So now when I go to distribute, when I distribute my LCD on the left side, right, we're going to multiply this by x times 5x plus 2. Well, x times 5x plus 2 is the original. The whole thing's going to cancel with that first term, so I'm left with 1. And now I have to distribute to this term here. Well, it's a minus, so I put minus, and the 6 is there. Well, the 5x plus 2 and the 5x plus 2 cancel, and I'm left with x. And that whole thing equals, and now on the right-hand side, when I multiply this by x times 5x plus 2, 5x squared plus 2x is the same thing, and that whole thing cancels, and I'm left with 6. Now I'm going to subtract the 1. Now I get negative 6x equals 5. Divide by negative 6, divide by negative 6, and now x equals, I have a positive divided by a negative, so I know it's going to be negative, and I'm just going to leave my fraction. There's nothing I can reduce from it. I hope these examples kind of give you a better idea of what to do with these. I hope that they do. Make sure you're asking lots and lots and lots of questions as you go through and do these homework problems.